Hi, this is Randall here in Texas.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Today, Randall and I are reviewing a new movie out in theaters from 20th Century Studios. It is Free Guy. It stars Ryan Reynolds, Jodie Comer, Joe Keery, Lil Rel Howery, Utkarsh and Budkar, and Taika Waititi. It is directed by Sean Levy, who's also known for Big Fat Liar, Cheaper by the Dozen, the Night at the Museum series, and Stranger Things. But before we go any further, if you like this review, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Also be sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell to get notifications about our latest videos.
In Free Guy, we tell the story of a non-playable character that becomes a sentient AI. He gets involved in a plot to find evidence that the game that he lives in is built on top of stolen code. Had a reported $100 to $125 million budget and has been well received by critics and very well received by audience members. A little tidbit about this is that there is a slew of celebrity cameos littered throughout this movie, but you gotta be really, really listening to figure out who is maybe voicing what character. It was a lot of fun to watch this film. For me, Matt, what did you think of Free Guy?
Oh, I'm right there. I really enjoyed this film, more so than I thought. Because a lot of times in like the trailers and everything, I'm like, all right, this is just gonna be like a rehash of like the Lego Movie and Ready Player One, and it has a lot of those same elements. But this movie's so much more. This is a movie that I really enjoyed from start to finish. Though no movie's perfect, and I have a little bit of quirks or whatever with this movie, but for the most part, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I thought that this was just going to be such a rehash of a whole bunch of things, and it absolutely steals from things. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But the way that it puts all of these components together and the story that it ends up telling is actually pretty original. You've never seen anything like this before, even with, Gamer, which I guess kind of maybe comes closer. And like you said, Lego Movie is definitely in there in the mix, but I found this to be way more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. It's fun. It's got good action in it. So if you're in it for the action, that's definitely there. It has some almost Star Trek qualities to it with, like, hey, he's an AI and we have to like be conscientious of the fact that he's become self-aware.
Feel brand new.
There's a lot here that I enjoy, and chief among it, as we were just doing off camera, my God, this movie is, I've only seen it once and it's still quotable.
Is that a Glock in your pocket?
No,
What?
it's 2 Glocks.
Oh. There's just little things in it that I'm like, yeah, that's funny to say to someone who's also seen the movie.
Me, I think a big part of that might be Ryan Reynolds. I think if you're into like Ryan Reynolds and his stick and his type of comedy and stuff, I think you're gonna enjoy quite a bit of Free Guy.
He's just resting.
In pieces. That man is dead.
He's so sleepy.
There's something about me seeing that guy and some of the dialogue that seems like, yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds probably ad-libbed or at least adjusted the dialogue a bit for these certain scenes.
Oh, he probably did. Yeah, it's funny to believe that he was, Van Weidler.
What is that intoxicating scent you're wearing, Doris?
I have cats.
Meow.
Like some people I know can't get over that. Like, oh, every time I see Ryan Reynolds, it's Van Wilder. I'm like, that was so long ago. Get that out of your mind. Ryan Reynolds today is much more like PC clean than that, and enjoyable in my opinion.
I know how important celebrities are, especially in times of global crises. You and the others in Hollywood are our last line of defense. Thank you.
The rest of the cast in this also does a very good job. It's not just Ryan Reynolds. I really enjoyed Joe Keery's character in this, and his hair.
It's Fabergé Organics. Use the shampoo and the conditioner, and when your hair is damp, it's not wet, okay? When it's damp, you do 4 puffs of the Farrah Fawcett spray.
The actors that they chose for these parts are, I don't want to say perfectly cast, but very well casted. And they all work and you believe them. That's the important thing. Do you believe them in these roles? And absolutely I do.
You said it earlier, it's stuff that you hadn't really seen before. Me, I think it actually was a little bit more like predictable and stuff story-wise and stuff. Like some of it is like new, I guess, in kind of like this form or whatever. But for me, like the base story, I guess you would say, like the main like story of like boy likes girl but doesn't really, say anything. Like the main storyline and stuff that's going, I found like really familiar and stuff too. But also in this movie has a lot of different topics and stuff that it's trying to hit on that not necessarily goes like deep dive, but hits a lot of different things, especially dealing with the video game industry as a whole. That's kind of like surface level thing. Like, dude, they don't like cut out anyone from like corporate to like programmers to like video game players to heck everyone that covers video games, whether it's streamers, YouTubers, or whatnot.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I had mentioned a little bit, like, there's even a little small Star Trek in there with, like, the AI stuff, but it's the same with everything else. You said surface level. Everything is very surface level. It's got a lot of themes going on, but it's never diving crazy deep into any of those themes as, hey, we're trying to make a point here. They're not trying to make a point. They're just trying to make a fun movie to watch. And it is a fun movie to watch. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you don't need a movie that's like reaching to do something and get across its green message or its futuristic message, whatever it be. It's just fun to watch a movie. This is just there enough. And there's just enough winks and nods at things like the small bit about gun violence and how's gun violence in the real world. Actually, that's a big problem. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming, And also, like you said, this whole thing about the video game community. There's lots of cameos by streamers. Our outro song was made by one of the streamers who makes an appearance in this film, Harris Heller. So you said you didn't notice him when you saw him. I'm like, oh, that's Harris. So yeah, there's a whole lot of surface level stuff here, but I'm okay with it in the service of what this movie's trying to be, entertaining.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think this movie is very self-aware. I mean, it knows when it's going on like the cliches or, the normal beats kind of thing. A lot of times when we could get like exposition dumps or whatever, people get cut off. Like the movie's self-aware about different stuff on that, and that's what's enjoyable. Everything like that is played off for jokes and stuff, and it doesn't let, like, hey, let's go into these deeper dive, these harder issues to bog down the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't let itself bog down. Like, Ready Player One has a big problem with that, where it can't decide whether or not it wants to be this fun, crazy movie, or if it wants to dive into this deeper dystopian, businesses running oligarchs kind of government thing. And it gets muddled in that. Free Guy does not have that problem at all. It doesn't take itself serious. It doesn't try and be anything other than what it is, a movie. I wouldn't be someone who works in the IT field if I didn't mention that a lot of the IT stuff in here is so surface level and so wrong. So wrong. Like, a big MMO, for example, you don't just reboot the server. It's not like, oh yeah, you could just reboot the game. That's not how it works. If I'm going to complain about any of the surface level stuff, it's the surface level stuff that matters to my career in IT. Like, yeah, no, that's not right.
One thing that we've also seen in a lot of movies that I was kind of worried about is that we were just going to get endless cameos, or not necessarily cameos, but like references to other movies. Like, we're kind of looking at like recent like Space Jam: A New Legacy. That's one of the things, is it just seemed like it was just a big like IP, whatever, like, hey, look at all this other stuff that Warner Bros. Done. This movie does have references, but I think it's in smaller packages. Like, you'll notice like something going in the scene or out, but I don't think it really distracts from the movie. Though I admit we do get a bit more references to pop culture stuff at the end of this movie, but my general idea is that it didn't have that dominate the film as some of these similar movies do.
Yeah, dude, you had mentioned off camera, like, hey, did you see the Scorpion? And I was like, yeah, who could miss Sheila, like...
Wait, who's Sheila? Sheila's the lady in the tank. She was my friend.
There's Halo tanks in here, but they're not there to distract from the movie or be anything else than just, it's just a tank rolling around this free city, basically. And, that's a skin that someone probably put on a more pedestrian style tank. It's a wink and a nod. It's not, here's this overriding thing that's going to be crazy. And at the end, like you mentioned, you get into some other Disney-owned IPs, and it's kind of funny, and you get a great cameo, which I won't spoil because I want people to see it. And it's just like, that was great because it was a self-aware moment. It is almost like you sit here to think, well, Ryan Reynolds plays Deadpool, who has all these fourth wall breaking moments, and you're like, you know what? You'd be funny. Just hold with me. I wonder how much the script, like you mentioned, was maybe slightly ad-libbed or maybe changed a little bit. Like Ryan Reynolds had an idea, and that just happened to be the way that it went in the end. And they get to leverage the fact that Disney, you know, whether you like it or not, owns all of these other properties.
I think it also helps too with Ryan Reynolds being like an executive producer and stuff on this film as well. And, you know, we get it. You know, a lot of producers are kind of like written on as part of like their contracts and stuff for like a name credit and stuff. But I actually feel like with how well, you know, that Ryan Reynolds or whatever is involved in like Deadpool and stuff, I feel like he probably had quite a bit of a creative hand in stuff that ended up in this movie, as opposed to saying like, yeah, we're just going to go on with, you know, whatever the writers or whatever put into this film. So I think that probably helped a little bit, and that's probably why we are able to get like that commercial or whatever you want to say, YouTube video where we see Deadpool talking about this movie.
Okay, this looks fun in a last days of Fox fire sale kind of way.
There was one thing that I did not know. I had no idea that Channing Tatum was in this film. And when he shows up and what role he plays and how it all plays out was just great. It was just fantastic. I love seeing, you know, when these big name movie stars are willing to let their egos go and just poke fun at themselves or just have fun and be joyful in a film. Channing Tatum in this is awesome, and I'm not going to spoil what he does for anybody, but it just worked for me.
Oh yeah, I agree. I definitely like Channing Tatum in this movie. Also, of course, you know, before we go off, I have to say how much I like Taika Waititi. I'm biased when it comes to Taika, but I really enjoyed it. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Has a lot of laughs throughout. Also has good heartfelt moments, and you know how I am with heartfelt moments. I highly recommend you check out Free Guy if you're kind of on the fence, because this movie was definitely more enjoyable than I was expecting it to be.
I'm just going to echo that sentiment because I went in kind of thinking it was just going to be a mind-numbing film, and it's a little bit above that. It's not deep or anything, but it was just so much more enjoyable than I had anticipated it being. It's only available in theaters, so if, you know, you feel safe, definitely highly recommend going to watch it. I think the theater experience for this one would probably be worth it. Absolutely. Hey, if you like this sort of thing, make sure to check out our YouTube page. We have other new movie reviews, we have flashback movie reviews, we have deeper dive discussions, and we even throw in a TV series review every now and then.
Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page. See all of our other posts there. Some of our posts even include ones the day before our reviews come out to let you know what the next topic is going to be. Our reviews come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. I'll see everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.